Now, what I'm about to read you is almost, not really, hard to believe. I'm lying. You know I'm lying. Massively easy to believe. Okay? Massively easy to believe. This is for our friends over in London, the other side of the pond. You know, Western world. And it appears, you remember I was doing some videos a little earlier this year and talk about the Miami area, and I think it was New York, or there's like 2 or 3 areas, and the government did like a little trial run. They created this little group, you know, federally funded. It's probably a federal government anyways. And they were investigating fund flows and housing, and they determined that in these 2 or 3 areas, which were kind of hot, you know, areas, hot as in real estate booming, you know, bubbles, that around 30% or so were showing that this is probably red flag, this is laundered and or criminal activity, you know, mostly laundered money. And it was only going on for a year that they had this little trial balloon of looking into this to see, are we wasting our time spending money on this new agency to look into this, or is there something here? And if there's something here, we're going to have to extend it, obviously. And there was definitely something there in all 2 or 3 of the test cities they tested. All of them showed the same result. Yep, big laundered money coming in here. Which does what? Causes artificial housing prices higher. Because you got someone who's got a ton of funds just flooding it in, which means what? Prices are going to go up. Which is partially to blame for this bubble. So I then talked about, I think it was in the same video, how it did so well in finding 30% laundered money going into the housing market in America in these 2 or 3 places. They decided to expand it to like 7 or 8 or something places. And the preliminary results show the same thing. So it's everywhere, you could say. Which again, creating bubbles everywhere. So if you think it's happening here, is it possible it was happening in Canada with all the hot money from China? Absolutely. We already knew that. Well, I've got news today from wolfstreet.com, Wolf Richter. London's deflating house price bubble gets messier. Prices in this hotbed of global wealth fall most since 2009. And I wrote myself a little note in the email to myself. Just like in the U.S., 30% of home purchases were showing huge signs of being linked to criminal money laundering. Right? That's why I just refreshed your memory real quick. That's what that was about. So, London's property market is estimated to be worth as much as the annual GDP of the world's 9th biggest economy, which is Brazil. But prices are falling. In April, they fell 1.5% year over year to 636,777. I guess that's not euros, that's I think pounds. According to Rightmove, a firm specialized in real estate. The last time prices fell so sharply was in May 2009, when the global financial crisis was gaining steam. The worst hit areas are London's most expensive boroughs. Again, Webbot. It's going to go to the high-end real estate first. They're going to crash down, and then it'll be followed by residential. Said this a while back, and this is what's happening. Those at the top end of the global wealth and income scale, just about the only people left who can afford to buy residential property in London these days, either have less money to spend or are spending it elsewhere. Some are even splashing it around other parts of the UK where better value deals can be found. For the last 2 years, the UK's prime regional housing markets have outperformed London's top postcodes as higher taxes and Brexit uncertainty have chilled the capital's prime markets. According to Lucian Cook, head of residential research at Savills, values in the prime central London market are 13% below their 2014 peak. The main factors driving this trend include changes to UK stamp duty, as well as international buyers' increased exposures to capital gains tax and inheritance tax, leading to more reluctance in taking advantage of the weaker sterling. Londoners have been squeezed out of the market for well over a decade, despite belated efforts by the government to dampen overseas demand after decades of trying to lure global capital foreign buyers have acquired as much as 3/4. Listen to this one. Remember what I said, 30% of these homes being sold in America and all these different areas they checked, money laundering, outsiders, money laundering. This is great. Foreign buyers have acquired as much as 3/4, 75%, of all new build housing in London in recent years. So all the new houses coming up for sale, brand new, we just build a new. I'll take that. 75% foreigners, foreign investment. But wait, there's more. There's absolutely more, or I wouldn't be doing this video. Much of that money is linked to suspected proceeds of corruption, according to a report by Transparency International. The report, titled Faulty Towers, Understanding... Oh, you talking about the Twin Towers? Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Faulty Towers, Understanding the Impact of Overseas Corruption on the London Property Market, found that 4 out of 10 of the homes it assessed in 14 new landmark London developments, worth at least £1.6 billion, were sold to investors from high corruption risk countries or those hiding behind anonymous companies. Less than a quarter had been bought by buyers based in the United Kingdom. Over 40% of luxury apartments in a tower on the South Bank, next to the London Eye, were bought by companies registered in the, you probably never heard this one before, British Virgin Islands, or Isles. One of myriad nodes in a vast secretive financial web of UK-affiliated tax havens. Over £4 billion worth of London's real estate was bought by people representing a high money laundering risk, estimates the report. The total is probably much higher. London has also become a magnet for crisis capital, with huge deposits of wealth fleeing insecurity overseas being invested into the capital's property market. A sharp drop in electricity usage in areas with a high density of foreign ownership shows that thousands of properties are lying unused for much of the year. Again, this is what we saw and currently still see in Canada. These Asian and foreign buyers coming in, buying this house, just unloading the money before the Chinese government can capture it because they don't like capital leaving the country. We've got to put it anywhere. We'll pay any price. And then these mansions are rotting. They don't rent it. They've never come to see the house. They've never been there. It is sitting there. And the people around there are like, this is kind of making our neighborhood, making our neighborhood look bad. What's going on here? Not only that, we'd like to live in some of these neighborhoods, but the prices have been jacked up so high by these foreigners, we can't even afford to live in our own country, in our own area. Can you imagine that? You can't even afford to live in your own country in a specific area that you like, upper class. You could normally afford it, but not anymore, because foreign entities are coming in with enormous amounts of laundered and illegal money to dump at it, and they don't care. It's like, it's like being a billionaire. I don't care what I pay for anything. I'll pay 5 times the value of something if I want. It means nothing. $1 million, I'll pay 5. I'm a billionaire. It means nothing. I'll pay 5. Throw them a freaking bonus. Well, the guy who sold the property is real happy, but no one else is. But now we can't even live there, and these people don't even have citizenship here, right? Isn't this odd? Inevitably, public anger is rising. In a poll conducted by YouGov on behalf of Transparency International UK, 54% of Londoners said they believe house prices are being ratcheted up by rich people from overseas concerning the high-end property market. Now, you would think as a government, we can see this trend coming from a mile away. We're going to write some laws. You can't have this. If you're not a citizen here, you can't buy a house here and own it. Sorry, you got to be a citizen. Nope. We'll take anything to help this fake bubble continue to grow. Anything. Just keep it flowing. We don't care where it comes from. Again, the Dutch guy, whatever he was, did the interview the other day. I kept saying French. He's Dutch, I guess. Interview of an insider banker guy, required him to molest children, but he decided he couldn't do that because he didn't want to get into that. I was just here for the money, and I had to back out and that kind of thing. It's been going viral lately, that video. Someone will post it. If someone doesn't mind, just post a link somewhere in the comments so other people can find it. But he talked about all this massive, incredible amounts of money laundering. You know, we supposedly have terrorists, we have these intelligence agencies, we have these banks, we have all. He says, being where I was at in this super high position, I could just watch the money flows. I could watch the money flows, and you would see it go over here, the bankers, and over here to intelligence, and then from intelligence over here to, you know, ISIS and stuff over here, and then back over here, then it goes back over here, go back. It could be a big circle, big old circle. It just goes around and around and around. So I think about that, and he would say their job was to, you know, these trucks would be packed full of money, and his job was to launder it through channels that were, you know, of course it's illegal, but he knew that, but he had to make it look like it was legit. That was his job, and he got paid very well for it. So if that kind of money is out there for this small group of people playing these games, they want to put it somewhere. They're out there buying all this real estate, I'm sure. So, anyways, inevitably, public anger is rising. In a poll conducted by YouGov on behalf of Transparency International UK, 54% of Londoners said they believe house prices are being ratcheted up by rich people from overseas, cornering the high-end property market. More than 1 in 5 of respondents thought international buyers were purchasing property in order to launder money. So this is the average person on the street thinks at least 1 out of 5. Well, over in America, it's 1 out of 3. It's a third. And you know it's much worse over there. If you've got 75% being bought by outsiders, oh, it's probably far worse, clearly. For most locals, owning a house in London is now an impossible dream. In parts of the capital, homes for the first-time buyers might be 20, 30, or even more than 40 times their salary. Despite various government initiatives to help bridge the affordability gap, most of which have merely helped fuel demand, and with it higher prices, the number of homeowners in the 25 to 29 age bracket has dropped by more than 50% since 1990. According to the Financial Times, now more than a third of first-time buyers in England rely on their parents for financial help, up from 20% just 7 years ago. For the millions of young people who do not have the luxury of relying on the bank of mom and dad to give them a leg up onto the property ladder, owning a home is becoming a distant dream, says Alan Milburn, chair of the Social Mobility Commission. Mirroring what has happened in the New York City region over the last decade, there's now a gathering flight out of London, says Dr. Paul Sanderson, the co-author of a new report by the Social Mobility Commission. The report shows that for the first time, the number of first-time buyers receiving financial assistance in London was on average lower than the rest of the country. Quote, I assume it's got to the point where house prices in London are now so high that first-time home buyers can't afford it even with help, he said. According to the data from the Office of National Statistics, about 30,000 more 30-somethings left London than arrived in 2015, an increase of 25% since 2010. As long as London remains a thriving, open, global city, you know, opensocieties.org, whose property market continues to serve as a lucrative and safe magnet for the funds of the world's wealthiest people. In 2015, there were 80 sterling billionaires, worth more than any other city in the world, and global interest rates remain at historically low levels. This exodus of young local people is likely to accelerate. That is a Big 10-4, and that is something I strongly agree with in this article, that is. And again, it's sad. Open society, open borders, come on in, buy our property up, do what you want. And our local people, F you. F you. You guys can't pay this kind of prices. These people are bringing in good tax money for the local city. We love them. This is great. These are people too, and we love them. While crushing the local citizen population. Gotta love freaking government and the corruption that goes with it. And you see, well, I'm going to leave America. I'm tired of this crap. I'm going to go over to the UK. Oh, are you? Can you even afford to live there? Looks like everyone's leaving. Where are you going to go? Well, I'll go to Vancouver, Canada. Same problem. Where else do you want to go? Keep going, right? This is an epidemic, and it will end with a massive implosion of epic proportions on property prices. It's going down. Mark my words. And I hope I'm in the position at that exact moment, silver prices, everything else in my life, to pull the trigger. Bitcoin, maybe it actually happens like Cliff High says next year, $13,000+ to start with. Whoa. I've got 7 now. Which, as I said, I share 2.5 or 3 or whatever it is with a friend / subscriber. Wouldn't that be great? 7 times 13,000. Well, that'd be a nice little chunk. However, Cliff said that's just kind of the beginning when things start unfolding. It's going much higher. Yeah, I think I'll hold on if I can. Could you imagine? Imagine this. I don't even have to touch my silver. And silver prices at the time are looking fantastic, and I could unload them if I wanted to and buy a house. Excuse me. But because Bitcoin has gone crazy, I just sell off the Bitcoins, give my friend whatever his share, take the rest, and I buy a house with that. And then I'm looking at my stash of silver saying, oh my God, that's still there. It's actually still there. And then I can sit back and say, I want to wait for that $500 to $600 range that the Webbot said was coming. It's $300 now. Let's wait a little while. That would be a fantastic. That's what I call living the American dream. That's going to be the new American dream, the new age American dream to shoot for. Because the old American dream is going away, if you haven't noticed. Take care.